This is like getting like messy. This is not fun. This is not a good like argument, debate, anything like that. These people keep going off in like different directions, and can we just stay on focus, please? This is a conversation about bathrooms at the moment. Hi everyone, I'm Samantha Lux. Welcome back to my channel. I just had so much coffee, first of all. I'm like shaking, literally just vibrating in place. But it's good because we have a lot of content to cover today, and we actually have a very, very special, first of its kind type of video today. I've made videos reacting to videos on the Jubilee channel before. I love making them, and I'm going to continue making them, so fear not. But today's video is going to be a little bit different than the ones that I've made in the past. This video that I want to react to is 40 minutes long, and I've reacted to some longer videos on my channel, but never one this long. So this reaction video is actually going to be split into 2 parts. Yeah, that's the special surprise that I was telling you about. So enjoy. I received a lot of requests to react to this video, to watch this video on my channel, because apparently in some people's opinions, the sides were not balanced. People have been telling me that the conservative side was in a way stacked against the trans woman side, so I'm here to fix that. In today's video, we're going to be reacting to the first half of this video, and then in a couple days from now, we're going to be reacting to the second half. So this is going to be part 1 of this little reaction video, and I'm super excited to get into it because these questions and these contestants, these like responders, are very... I just have a lot to say. I post the videos twice a week here on my channel, so make sure to subscribe if you are not already. And you would like to be, of course. Go ahead. I'll wait for you. Go ahead. Go ahead. Still jittering from my coffee. Are you done? Thank you very much. Make sure to follow me over on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those different places to keep us up to date with me as possible. And yeah, with no further ado, let's get right into the first Jubilee question for this video. Shall we? The video that we're reacting to today is titled Trans versus Conservative Women. Are periods essential to womanhood? And it's part of the Middle Ground series over on Jubilee. Like I said in the intro, some people were telling me that they thought that this video was kind of stacked against the trans woman. And right off the bat, I can already tell you that that is in some way true, because they split up these 2 groups into trans women and conservative women, but at least one of the trans women identifies as conservative. So it's like, whose team are you on? What side are you on? I'm just kidding. I know there's no sides or anything like that, but there kind of is. Okay, let's start it.
Step forward if you agree. The transgender movement is indoctrinating our youth.
Oh my God, okay, starting off strong. As always, I'm gonna respond to these first, and then we will listen to what the participants have to say, and I'll respond if I feel like I have to. Obviously, I don't think that the transgender movement is indoctrinating our youth. I don't really see it. So yeah, let's see if some people do say yes, and then let's hear their reasoning.
We are seeing, especially on social media, on TikTok, you're seeing a lot of people in this community really just targeting children, and you're seeing drag shows, even in conservative states like Texas, and even just media, movies, like it seems like everything seems to be targeted at these kids. You have drag story hour for kids, and it's just really, I think, predatory in a way. And I'm not saying every trans person is doing this, but as a whole, there does seem to be a route that they're taking to get to the kids.
Oh my God, okay. First of all, the trans movement and drag queen story hour, different. We're different. I'm not a drag queen. I will say I do love a drag queen story hour, but they are different. I really wish she gave some examples of how trans people are targeting kids. She's throwing around these words like predatory and targeting children and stuff like that, but then doesn't give any examples besides drag queen story hour in which trans people are not participating. Like, what?
When you hear Blue's Clues playing in the next room, and then you hear the gay parade song, it's Blue's Clues. You're not expecting to be talking to the children about that. Yeah. It really makes you wonder, are they really coming for the children?
Okay, at least this woman gave an example. You know, she said, I saw it on Blue's Clues. Personally, I don't watch Blue's Clues. I don't know what's going on there, but she says that on Blue's Clues, they played this. Actually, I think I did hear about this. I think they played like a gay parade song, like a gay pride song during Pride Month. And let's just... what does indoctrination even mean, girl? Let's look up the actual definition of indoctrination. The process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. So the set of beliefs that they are claiming that we are pushing onto these children is that it's okay to be gay or it's okay to be trans. I mean, yeah, I guess I am. I guess I am indoctrinating someone, girl.
And I think we see in our population now, the rate of young children who are identifying as transgender, non-binary is skyrocketing. And I think there's something to be said for people who are truly experiencing gender dysphoria, which we recognize exists, and those who are experiencing what is now going to be called, or in the future going to be called, this social contagion gender dysphoria, where they're being exposed to it on social media or in school, or mom and dad are having a conversation about it with children, and children are now starting to develop gender confusion.
Okay. So this theory has been disproved many times. I mean, it's literally on the screen. I love how Jubilee put that in. They're like, okay, just so y'all know, this isn't actually like a real thing. This has actually been widely discredited. This social contagion theory is just a way for people to invalidate people's transness. They argue that if somebody has trans friends, then they can't actually be trans themselves, and they're just trans because their friends are trans. Like, no, I just like hanging out with people that are like me, you know? More people are identifying as trans and non-binary, you know, gender diverse at younger ages, but it's not because of indoctrination and, you know, we're pushing kids to transition and to reject their gender that they were born as. Kids are just able to access this information at a younger age now. Growing up, I didn't even realize that being trans was a possibility. If I had the knowledge and the resources that kids do now, I might have also come out earlier, but I just didn't have that knowledge. I didn't have that exposure. In the same ways that you can't force somebody to not be transgender, you can't force them to be transgender either. Like, I can't force your kid to be trans. I can't force your kid to be gay. It just doesn't work like that.
People who are being born, they don't have to put the gender on the birth certificate, and they're saying you can choose whatever you want to be. Like, that's so dangerous. And even lying to them, saying like, oh, if we put you on hormone blockers at this age, it won't do anything to your...
Is it? Is it? I won't even say that I necessarily agree with raising kids without a gender or gender neutral whatever, but like, let's talk about how it's dangerous.
Puberty, it won't affect you long term, and it's just a straight up lie. And there's like an entire Reddit thread dedicated to people.
Her bringing up the Reddit thread is just too much for me. Like, I gotta go. Next question. Also, nobody's saying that hormone blockers won't affect your puberty. That's the whole point, girl. However, if you do decide to go off of those hormone blockers, then your puberty will resume as normal. That's just how they work.
People who transition talking about how much they hate their life now because they transitioned as a child and now they amputated off healthy body parts and are miserable.
She's talking about these detransitioners that like she cares about if people are suffering. She's like, these people are suffering and we have to do something about this. Ignores the millions of trans people that are like, I wanna die. I hate my body. I need to transition. She's like, you'll be fine.
The fact that the trans movement has got people shook has me so excited. The trans movement is not indoctrinating our youth. Our youth are understanding who they are at a younger age. And from what I was hearing over here is a lot of what y'all were saying, I wonder would you say it to the parents? Because we need to really look at what the parents of trans youth really go through.
She's absolutely right that a lot of times when we're talking about this idea of indoctrination, we're once again ignoring the validity of these trans people's identities. They say that these kids can't possibly be trans, so therefore somebody must have tricked them into being trans, or somebody must have indoctrinated them instead of just accepting that they're trans.
Someone said something about drag shows coming to schools or whatnot. The kids enjoyed it, the parents just had a problem with it, but that's their issue. It's only someone dressed in drag reading a story.
Is
that could have
drag
been
not
anybody.
blackface for women?
Oh my god. I mean, that's your opinion, girl. Once again, I hate when people bring up drag when we're talking about trans issues. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's not my problem. Honestly, it just reveals that they think of us as drag queens. Like, thanks. Thanks. I'm just kidding.
I have to agree with you guys. I do not like the drag queen social hours. I personally, as a trans person, didn't ever go to a drag show until I was about 40. I'm not for the sexualization of kids. Why are we not letting kids be kids and bringing sex into their lives so early?
I think it's
Okay, so yeah, this is why I said that I think that their sides are a little bit uneven, because this trans woman is like conservative and is like siding with the conservatives. Like, I just don't understand as a trans woman how you're gonna be like, yeah, we shouldn't be sexualizing kids. Like, teaching them about your identity is sexualizing them? Wait a sec. My identity is not a sexual thing at all.
Mandatory in general to talk about sex with children.
Yeah.
Straight sex, any kind of sex.
Who is talking about sex with children? Not me, girl.
Who's teaching sex to third grade children? I really want to know.
Have you looked at the California curriculum for sex education? You need to.
I have not read the curriculum for sex education, but like, once again, mentioning that LGBT people exist is not a sexual thing. It's not a sexual conversation. It can be, I guess, but it's not like an inherently sexual thing.
As a mother and seeing what my children are going to have to be introduced to at such a young age, like I didn't even know what a gay person was till I was like 12. And so they're gonna be having these really heavy...
She said, I miss when I didn't know that gay people were here. I miss not knowing about y'all. My child will never know about gay people, ever. Not if I have anything to do with it.
Just because of their exposure, and that is honestly just scary because I don't want to have those conversations. That's why I will be homeschooling my kids, because I do believe it is my responsibility to protect them and shield them from the outside world, which is targeting children.
This girl needs to get a grip. This girl is gonna be the worst mom. I'm sorry. I have to say it. I gotta say it. I gotta just get it out there. Anything that I do not agree with, my child will never be exposed to. Good luck, girl. Good luck. She's really that afraid of her kid being trans, of her kid being gay, that she will keep them in the house, like homeschool them. There's nothing wrong with homeschooling your kids, but like to shelter them from other people just because you don't want them to know that gay people exist or that trans people exist is crazy. We all agree, right? That's wild. If you're really that afraid of having a gay kid or a trans kid, maybe don't have kids. Sorry, girl.
So in one sentence, you're saying that you guys are not responsible for the indoctrination that's currently happening with
Absolutely
children.
not.
And in the second sentence, you are saying we are shook by the fact that you are responsible for it.
No, you are shook at the fact that the trans movement has become what it is.
And a movement that influences people all
powerful-
over the world, and particularly children. And we see it in the fact that the number of young people identifying as transgender, non-binary, gender fluid, genderqueer is skyrocketing, which means that children are being exposed to these ideas, and it's certainly coming from institutions like the media, like Hollywood, like our public institutions and schools. So to say that that is not happening, or to deny that that is the reality, negates the numbers that we're seeing.
Girl, okay, like we get it, but like who cares? She said, yeah, these kids are being exposed to gay people and trans people, and now they're realizing that they're trans, and now there's more trans people. Just say you want us to die. Like, just say you don't like us. Even if we were indoctrinating them to... Actually, I don't even want to make the argument because we're not. We're just not. It's weird to take the fact that kids are realizing who they are at a younger age and coming out earlier and then like blaming that on trans people as if it's like a bad thing. Like, you're welcome. This is a very interestingly phrased question because it's like, on one hand, yes, the trans movement is out here trying to make itself visible, and we're out here trying to be seen and trying to be accepted by like the mainstream or whatever. And of course, with that increased exposure, people are going to realize that they're trans at a younger age, or, you know, whenever they're getting this information. So I guess you could argue that it's our fault, but I don't think of that as a bad thing.
Do you think that children should be able to transition medically?
Do I think that children should be able to transition medically? Yes. I think that when children have gone through that extensive process with a team of medical professionals and psychiatrists, therapists, psychologists, whatever, you know, the whole team, the whole works of professionals, and those professionals come to the conclusion that gender transition is going to be what is going to make this child the happiest and the healthiest version of themselves, why would I not support that? Why would I not support giving a child the best care that's accessible to them? In my opinion, medical intervention for trans people should be reserved for when it's necessary, at any age, you know what I mean? Even if you're 25 years old, if you're 50 years old, I don't think that you should be doing these procedures or these interventions unless it's what's really, really necessary for you. It comes with risks, sometimes it's irreversible, stuff like that. I think that those pros and cons need to be very heavily weighed. However, when the weighing has been done and the conclusion is there, I fully support it. Yeah, I sure do.
It just really depends on each individual situation. They should be able to make the best medical decision for them.
That is the end of the first question. There's a lot of sidetracking happening, which is fine. I love a good conversation, a good conversational flow. Yeah, let's get into the next one now.
I am comfortable sharing bathrooms with the other side.
No. I don't want no conservatives in my bathroom. I'm just kidding. I don't care.
Yes, I feel comfortable. Safe, that might be a different question, but comfortable, yes, I feel comfortable.
What I think the bathroom...
I'm sorry. I just gotta say, if you feel unsafe, wouldn't that make you uncomfortable as well? Doesn't matter.
issue opens up is an issue of predatory men taking advantage of the opening. That now they could walk into a women's bathroom or a women's locker room, as we've seen happen in instances like here in Los Angeles at We Spa. And they go into a women's space, they expose themselves to the women, and then they say, well, I'm a trans woman and you've opened up this space for me.
But we cannot blame trans people for that. And
Nobody's blaming you.
You are, though. You are blaming us. I mean, you may not be blaming us, but we're being punished for it.
We have to have the conversation, and I'll open up the question. We know that if this legislation happens, if we move forward with this move, there are going to be men who take advantage of it. Now, I want to ask you, is your comfort as far as going to the bathroom more important than the female women that will be victimized by this?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I hate that question. Is your comfort more important than the girls that will be victimized by this? Because the same question could be asked to cisgender women about not allowing trans women in their bathroom. Is a cisgender person's comfort more important than protecting the trans person from being victimized in a men's bathroom or a men's facility? Because what it boils down to is just minimizing the risk. Personally, I believe allowing a trans woman to go into a female space is the safer option when compared to forcing a trans woman to go into a men's facility with other cisgender men around. Because let's remember, if anybody is victimized in a bathroom or a facility, that's still illegal. If a man goes into a woman's facility and pretends to be a woman and exposes himself, that's still very much illegal.
Who said female women will be victimized by this?
They will, and they have.
No, you're only assuming, but the reality of it is, again,
I mean, it kind of is an assumption, but also it's just irrelevant. You say that making a law that protects trans women is going to allow men to break a different law. Okay, they're still breaking a law.
when people are going into the restroom, when people are only going into the restroom, they're only focused on doing one or two things, and that's using the restroom.
Yeah,
But you didn't answer the question. Is your comfort more important than the female people who could be victimized by this?
Okay, so
Is your comfort more important than the females who will be victimized by this? What did she say? Say it again, girl. I feel like she doesn't realize or she doesn't care that trans women are victimized when they go into men's bathrooms and men's facilities. And that happens much more often than female people being victimized by trans women or by men pretending to be trans women.
Yeah, so I didn't step forward because, and I know in today's age this is going to sound very radical, and but I don't agree with the whole transgender ideology, and so for me it's encouraging something that is based in what I feel is delusion, and so I don't think that we should be encouraging that by allowing men into women's restrooms.
This girl, I don't like her. Actually, you know what? I kind of like that they brought her. She's fun to listen to. She's got some interesting thoughts up there. Everyone just nods. They're like, okay, weirdo. Where's the delusion at? When people say that trans people are delusional, I feel like they really think that I believe that I'm a cisgender woman. They think that I was born a woman. There's nothing delusional about me recognizing that I was born male, but am much more comfortable living my life as a woman. Where's the delusion?
And trans people are not a delusion. Let's make it very clear. We're here. We've been here for ages. We've been here since the beginning of time. We're in your history books. And I think it's very disingenuous to say that a whole identity is a delusion.
I believe that you feel like women. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is an objective truth, and I don't believe in his truth, her truth, their truth, my truth. Like, there is truth, and
who defined that truth?
What's the truth? Spill the truth. I feel like if I were to ask her this, like, okay, then what's the truth? She'd be like, that you're a man. And I'd be like, okay, T. If you want to use that word, I'm a man who feels more comfortable living as a woman.
And like, it's already defined. And as a Christian, I believe God is the one who set truth.
But who defined that?
Is the truth.
Can you tell me who defined that?
God.
I'm sorry, cut the camera. Who defines the truth? God. God made me the way I am. I'm beautiful in that way because God makes no mistakes. This is such a boring argument. Like, it's such a boring cop-out to be like, oh, well, God told me that transies are going to hell. God told me that you're a man. No, he didn't. What, did he whisper that to you last night? Did he come to you in a dream? Who's the delusional one now, Miss Girl?
We're talking about a book that was written by man with his own bias.
Who created chromosomes?
Yeah, I'm personally not religious, and I believe in science.
When we talk about chromosomes,
What is going on here? Who created chromosomes? If God isn't real, who made a chromosome? I don't understand.
it goes back to the conversation we were talking about earlier about being intersex.
But we're not talking about intersex. We're talking about people who were born as a male and they try to transition. The whole fact that they're trying to transition into a female in the first place shows that they aren't actually that, or else there would be no need to transition, right? So you say, okay, I feel like a woman. What is that? What does that feel like?
Yeah, how does it
And how do you know?
I'm not saying I feel like a woman. I am a woman. I don't
So then why?
Oh my God, I hate this. Oh my God, what's a woman? Me, I am. Like, I don't need to have this perfectly constructed definition of what it is to be a woman to know that I feel better about myself when I live as a woman, to know that this is what makes me most comfortable, to live this way, whatever you want to call it. This is how it is.
Did you transition? Why can't you just present as a man but be a woman?
I transitioned so I could be who I was. I did not feel like I was the person that I identified with when I was born. So I took the steps to align my outside body with how I feel on the inside. What makes you stand up every day and make you identify as a woman? Let me challenge you on that.
I am a woman, and I don't like being called a cis woman because I'm not a cis woman. I'm a woman. I'm not a birthing person. I'm a mother.
So get mad at the terminology, not at trans people.
It's your new terminology.
But this is what
Oh my God, this is like getting like messy. This is not fun. This is not a good like argument, debate, anything like that. These people keep going off in like different directions, and can we just stay on focus, please? This is a conversation about bathrooms at the moment.
This is what I notice a lot of cis women do. The terminology has been around for so long. Cis is a prefix. Cis means same. Instead of getting mad at trans and non-binary people for using updated terminology, get mad at Webster. You're not going.
Literally, she's like, that is not my problem. I didn't make the rules. I did not write the book. And also, I thought you were all about books, Miss Girl, Miss Bible. What, you don't like that author? That author's not good enough for you?
You have to admit, some of the pronouns are kind of ridiculous. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, you
With all due respect, you're kind of ridiculous. You are absolutely absurd. With all due respect.
I'm sure you have to agree some of the pronouns that
I don't
people
think
use.
they're ridiculous. I think they're very expansive. Trans and non-binary people just want you to respect their chosen pronoun. We are not trying to force pronouns on you. Just understand that the terminology is going to continue to grow. If you're willing to educate yourself and understand, then you've got it.
Yeah, no, I think that that's the problem here is most people like this, you know, that will show up to a debate and say the things that they're saying, they don't want to learn. They don't want to try to understand these things. It is frustrating because listening to these conversations, I feel like there is so much, for lack of a better term, middle ground or so much understanding that could be made. And I feel like we would agree on a lot of these things if they just weren't so stuck in their ways of being anti-trans. You know what I mean?
The ability to give birth is a woman's greatest strength.
That's very interesting. Nobody came forward for that one. I mean, I think that women have a lot of different strengths, and I don't think that being able to reproduce is the greatest of all of them. I think that it's a really great and very, very important, special, beautiful thing, but I don't think that it is this end all be all of womanhood.
I cannot have kids due to medical issues from a medical procedure that I had when I was younger. And it's a hard subject to talk about. It's doesn't mean I'm any less of a woman, but can we get another question? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's like very sad. I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing. It is sad. I genuinely do feel for her because not being able to have a baby as a woman is really, really hard. It's really cool that she shared this with the panel. I feel like a lot of times people don't really realize that trans women feel like this a lot of times too. I did just say being able to give birth is not a woman's greatest strength. It's not the defining trait of being a woman or whatever, but to a lot of people it is an important part of being a woman. And it really sucks when people take that and like throw it in your face. It's like a, oh, well, you don't get periods, you can't reproduce, you can't have babies, whatever. Because like, yeah, bitch, you're right. But at the same time, there are cisgender women out there like Tiffany that also can and are just as much of a woman.
While giving birth is not a woman's greatest strength, I do think that only biological women are capable of going through that process and bringing life into the world.
That's incorrect. Trans men are out here giving birth, non-binary people give birth. Like, to say that is to intentionally exclude trans people from the conversation. It's to intentionally call trans men women. You can recognize that people born with a female body are the only ones that are able to, you know, carry a child, whatever. That's fine. But she's deliberately using this very specific language to invalidate trans men's identities.
I recognize that there are people who have different identities. There are biological women who identify identify as men and then go on to give birth. I would argue, however, that those people are still biological women. And I know that is something that can offend many, but that stands as my belief.
She's like, that's just how I feel. I feel like you're a woman. So yeah, like I just said, very explicitly trying to just call trans men women. You can add biological in front of women, you're still calling them women.
So how would you define womanhood?
You sound like Matt Walsh.
It's a good question.
Womanhood, to me, is about standing in integrity.
That's just such a weird thing to define. Like, define womanhood. Like, it's, what do you mean? It's whatever you do as a woman. And a woman, if you want to get like specific about it, a woman is a person whose gender identity corresponds to the female sex. So the two poles of sex, male and female, correspond with the gender identities of masculine and feminine. So if your gender is very, very feminine, you're a woman. It's very simple. Honestly, to me, the whole, what is a woman? What define womanhood is just a cop-out. It's just a dodge. Because as you can see, when you turn it back on them, they don't have an answer either. They say things, I know I'm a woman because God made me a woman. No, incorrect. I know I'm a woman because I can make a baby. Clearly, that's incorrect. They can say, oh, I'm a woman because I have XX chromosomes. But then again, we see women that have XY chromosomes but develop fully female. We can go down this list and tick off every single one that they're like, oh, this is what makes me a woman. This is what makes me a woman. This is what makes me a woman. Because womanhood is so different for everybody.
And what I see from a lot of cisgender women is they're trying to deem what womanhood is supposed to look like. I have my own perspective of womanhood. We can coexist in the same world, but the reality is we get so stuck on parts. Having a vagina is not the only thing that makes you a woman. I'm sorry. It takes integrity, it takes courage, it takes lifting other women up. It takes those things to begin to define womanhood, and there's so many other different things.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so if I were a white person and I said blackness is about integrity and courage and kind of the same thing that you used to define womanhood, and then I said I want to transition into a black person and I'm white. And I'm redefining what blackness is to fit what I view it as, right? There's no objective reality of what blackness is. Would you consider that appropriation, or do you think that's something I should be allowed to do?
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Well, if you're a transgender, I'm gonna be a transracial. I'm gonna be a trans futon. These are just like very, very different things. While race is largely socially constructed, there are biological cues that determine what your race is. For gender, there isn't any biological cues. Like, you could argue that gender and sex are the same thing and therefore there are biological cues, but that is not the consensus of these medical and academic communities? Organizations?
I consider that dodging, and I consider that comparing apples to oranges, because race and gender identity are two separate different things. Because when we look at race, we have to look at many, many different structures of what whiteness and white supremacy looks like and how white supremacy can be manipulated into other things.
What's interesting is that we're talking about race and gender, or as we probably like to call it on our side, sex.
Right. So she just admitted that they conflate gender and sex, which it's just incorrect. Like, it's just factually incorrect to say that these refer to the same things.
Race actually has a more understandable structure for people being transracial. Race does actually exist on a spectrum. I'm biracial. Many perceive me to be black, even though I am also half white and half black. We label people like President Obama as a black president, even though he is as well. Race has never had binary markers. It does exist on a spectrum.
I mean, just because something exists on a spectrum doesn't mean it doesn't have biological markers. And also, we can trace back our race and our genetics through our family tree. Like, we can determine what it is.
Gender, however, does have binary markers. As much as we try, as much as we change the way that we self-present, chromosomes are not going to change.
Okay. Chromosomes refer to sex, not gender. Just for your information.
You know, as a trans person, I'm a very conservative trans person. I don't see the huge gender spectrum that a lot of people in the trans community do. Do I feel better having transitioned? Yes, absolutely. I used to live in a little shell, well, very large shell, but now I'm much more open about who I am. Is that the only thing that generally defines a woman? No, I don't think that is the only thing that generally defines a woman.
Right. I think there are a lot of women who may be on our side of the argument who will try to maybe invalidate your experiences by saying you can't give birth or you can't have a period. And while those things may be true, I'm sure there's a lot of other different struggles that you all are going through. And yeah, I would truly believe that you probably are highly discriminated against in our society, and it is hard to be you. It is hard to go through the things that you go through and have to deal with some of the responses that you get from people. And you know, it's not a struggle that I would wish on myself at all.
It's not a struggle I wish on my worst enemy.
No, that's a really weird place to stop, because she says, I wouldn't wish these struggles or this discrimination upon you or upon myself. And yet she is actively contributing to the hate that motivates the discrimination that we face. She is the underlying reason. Like, you did this, sis. Of course, not you by yourself or anything like that, but she's a conservative social commentator. And these conservative social commentators that say that trans women are men and that they're gonna expose themselves to women in women's bathrooms, they are the ones that are making our lives so difficult. So for her to turn around and be like, it must be really hard being you. Yeah, you're right. Thanks to you. I love these videos, but I do genuinely feel like middle ground is rarely ever reached, because people come into these conversations like not wanting to find a middle ground, not wanting to find understanding with the other side. They want to come and debate their perspective. It's very frustrating to watch them both be saying very similar things in different words and not realize that they would agree on a couple things at least. I say this all the time, but women, whether you're trans or whether you're cis, face a lot of the same discriminations in this world, in this society. Things like domestic violence, you know, inequality in the workplace are things that affect all women, not just cisgender women. So it just sucks when we're pitted against each other instead of working together to find understanding and working to combat the issues that we're all facing together. But yeah, you guys, that is it for the first half of this video. That is going to be it for this part 1 section. These questions were interesting. They only get better from here though, so make sure that you stay tuned and watch the second part of this video. Comment down below with all of your responses to the different questions. I post new videos twice a week here on my channel, so make sure to subscribe if you're not already and you would like to be. And yeah, other than that, I think I'm going to go. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.